Hello, BookTube. I have a rather larger than usual morning mail haul for you here. And the reason is because last night the mail truck driver made his last delivery so late in the day. It was already hard dark. It was already in the nighttime. And my surly houseboy took the mail in and piled it somewhere that I did not spot until this morning. So we have a lot of packages to go through, and most of it is cardboard. I'm wearing a cardboard belt. There's only one package that is the kind of manila envelope that my little Frida Bean loves to destroy. All the rest is cardboard, which she also loves to destroy. So let's see what this. I am guessing that this whole mail shipment, I'd be willing to bet there's almost no exceptions, that this is all finished copies of November for my November shelf. My November bookshelf is small. It's not even normal sized. It's small because all of existence was blotted out by October, and so I am building a November shelf as I go along. So what have we got here? Okay. Okay, so this first one is a November finished copy. This is Digital Renaissance by Joel Waldfogel. What data and economics tell us about the future of popular culture. Digital Renaissance. The digital revolution poses a mortal threat to the major creative industries, music, publishing, television, and movies. No, it doesn't. Are you crazy? First sentence out of the gate. No, it doesn't. A mortal threat? What? No. The digital renaissance poses a mortal threat to publishing? More books are published in 2018 than have ever been published in any individual year in the history of the human species. The writer of this pub sheet must mean the traditional means of those things. Yes, the digital renaissance, the fact that you can digitize a wall of your living room into a high-definition movie screen, will kill movie theaters, except for weird anachronistic posers. Same way that Napster and digital music killed the big opulent record stores, except for hipsters. Well, anyway, let me read on. The ease with which digital files can be copied and distributed has unleashed a wave of piracy with disastrous effects on revenue. Cheap, easy self-publishing is eroding the position of these gatekeepers and guardians of culture. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Cheap, easy self-publishing is eroding the position of these gatekeepers and guardians of culture. Yes, indeed, it is. That's true. So that if you have an agent, because publishers can't afford readers anymore, they can't afford editors anymore, so all the vetting of a new manuscript is done by agents who don't have any training in that and are only going on what they like, and with almost no idea about... Those agents have piles and piles and piles of manuscripts to look at. They have interns, unpaid interns, and they also have piles and piles and piles of manuscripts to look at. And too often, whether or not an agent smiles favorably upon your manuscript will depend on whether or not that agent has just had a wonderful date, or just had a wonderful fruit salad, or just got back to work and decided, I'm just going to pick something out of here. I'm random. I know, I'm so random. The traditional gatekeepers of the publishing industry, anyway, which is the one thing I can speak about, are woefully inadequate to the task at hand. Woefully. Anyway, I'm never going to get through this pub sheet here. Does this revolution herald the collapse of culture, as some commentators claim? Far from it. In the digital renaissance, Joel Waldfogel argues that digital technology is enabling a new golden age of popular culture, a veritable digital renaissance. Oh, good. All right, that pulled it out of its nosedive. By reducing the cost of production, distribution, and promotion, digital technology is democratizing access to the cultural marketplace. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I have been told that the process is so simple that in a single hour, you can self-publish your own book with an ISBN and digital distribution to all of the mediums where people access with their cell phones, which are with them all the time. So that represents a revolution indeed. used to be, I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember, vanity publishing, where that was the only other way that you had. There was no internet. So you either sent your manuscript around to publishers and got it rejected over and over and over and over and over again, or you paid to have it vanity printed in a traditionally bound and printed book that came to you in a box of 12, and you just handed them out to your friends. It was never available commercially. No one ever knew about it, except your family and friends, but you could put your book on the shelf and say, there you go, I wrote a book. And that was viewed, that's why it was called vanity publishing, because it was viewed with a certain amount of scorn. In my opinion, unearned scorn, because the alternative, the process of flogging your manuscript around, was masochistically, unbelievably difficult. So you wouldn't have to be a self-impressed poser to go the route of vanity publishing. Only now, the word vanity publishing has virtually disappeared. Now you can actually publish into the marketplace and find readers, find buyers for your book. Let's see here. More books, songs, television shows, and movies are being produced than ever before. Nor does this mean a tidal wave of derivative, poorly produced kitsch. Analyzing decades of production and sales data, as well as bestseller lists, Waldfogel finds that the new digital model is just as successful at producing high-quality, successful work as the old industry model, and in many cases more so. I think I'm going to like this book. All right, so let's find out who is Joel Waldfogel when he's at home. Who are we going to... All right, let's see here. He holds the Frederick R. Capell Chair at the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Management, and his previous books include Scroogeonomics, Why You Shouldn't Buy Presents for the Holidays. And that is our author. I don't know. That face seems kind of kind to me. Probably Scroogeonomics, Why You Shouldn't Buy Presents for the Holidays, has just the same kind of twist that this book has. So, but I can't wait. Great. So it actually sounds like this is going to focus a lot on books. I know that can't be true. Looking at the table of contents, and chapter 5 is called Digitization in Books, 50 Shades of Drek. Yeah, I think I'm going to like this. All right, so that starts us off. Now we'll move on to the cardboard. Just an endless stream of cardboard, but we do end with a box. I predict these will all be November finished copies. Do you want that, Bean? Oh, what is that? What is this next one? It is a November finished copy of Nina Edwards' Cultural History of Darkness. I think we saw this before in the advanced copy a long time ago. Are you afraid of the dark? No. And if, like many of us, your answer is a slightly embarrassed yes, what does that fear even mean? Well, for humans, it's fairly simple, because most humans just lazily rely entirely on their eyesight. As they have technically 5 senses, as many as 9 senses, but they only ever use just one. They rely so heavily on it that they don't use any others. So when you take that away, of course they're afraid. I myself was fortunate enough to be raised and socialized by a species that keeps all things in perspective. Yes, eyesight, but also lots of other senses too, including some remarkably finely tuned ones that don't rely on light. So, but anyway, I'm talking over the pub sheets today. That can't continue. Whether abstract or actual, beloved or bedeviled, darkness seems to contain one shining, unifying point of clarity. It touches at the roots of our souls. All right, somebody talented wrote this pub sheet. I wonder if I know who it is. In darkness, Nina Edwards takes that point and explodes it outward. Okay. All right, so this is a Cultural History of Darkness. Comes out in November, in mid-November. It's going to be weird. I hope that it's nice and wide-ranging. We shall see. I have always had a different relation with darkness than all of my human friends. Not only because I put a huge amount of reliance myself on my sense of hearing and my sense of smell, and not only because I have a really good spatial memory. So I only need to see a room once, for instance, to know where everything in it is. Even in complete darkness, I won't stumble over anything. But also, my eyesight is a bit on the strange side. In bright angled sunlight, I am almost completely blind. And I can see well enough to make out fine detail in what you would consider to be complete darkness. So I come to this book from a strange vantage point, because you'll see how that affects the reading experience. All right, now, I've got one of these vacuum-packed packages that kind of just stamp into a package, and it is driving Frida to distraction. Look what she's already done to it. So I'm just going to move ahead. I don't going to save these for the end, but I'm just going to move ahead and give her this. So let's see what this is. And you can just have this rather than going nuts on it. Goodness gracious. Oh, fantastic. All right, this is another November finished copy. This is the finished copy of Edward Watts's Mortal Republic, which is a history of the Roman Republic and the change to the Roman Empire. By Edward J. Watts, who is... that is our author. No relation to the Edward J. Watts I once upon a time knew, my legendary fellow creature at the University of Iowa. He holds the Alcibiades Vasiliadis Endowed Chair and is professor of history at the University of California, San Diego. And if I remember correctly from the advanced copy of this book, he and I are going to tussle. Let's see. No republic is eternal. It lives only as long as its citizens want it. In both the 21st century AD and the 1st century BC, when a republic fails to work as intended, its citizens are capable of choosing the stability of autocratic rule over the chaos of a broken republic. When freedom leads to disorder and autocracy promises a functional and representative and responsive government, every citizen of an established republic can become willing to set aside long-standing principled objections to the rule of one man and embrace its practical benefits. Yeah, we are going to tussle. We are going to tussle, because that didn't happen in ancient Rome. The Roman Republic was not broken, and its people did not decide to embrace an autocracy. Neither one of those things happened. The Roman Republic was despite the easy 2020 hindsight revisionism of saying that it was faltering and that it gave way to the strongman rule of Marius and then Sulla and then Julius Caesar and the line of Roman emperors, despite how easy that saying is. That is not true. Military strongmen took it over and destroyed it for their own personal gain. That's a completely different story, but that is actually what happened. So it wasn't that the people of Rome decided, well, this is just chaos, so instead of our old freedoms, we're going to choose slavery because it's more stable. Nobody ever does that. No republic has ever died that way. And when the American Republic dies, it will not die that way either, no matter what you might see on the news. So what do we got here? The bullet point topics are: what factors made Rome's republic susceptible to collapse? Marius trained the army to be loyal to him instead of the republic. And it worked. He gave them bonuses, he bribed them, he gave them land, and it worked. Sulla then took over and had the army at his beck and call. What is a republic? A city, a republic, is a civil institution. It's not a Spartan war camp. It's a civil institution. It relies on the fact that its armies will be loyal to it instead of to any one person. And each of its people relies on that fact too, because you can see the danger in the other way. What you need is not just one, but a string of gamblers who are so incredibly self-absorbed in their own advancement that they don't care about the potential. And Rome got that. That's whether or not... What are you doing, Frida? Oh my God, you have a floor covered in cardboard. Anyway, that's probably good because it stops me from ranting. What's the next bullet point? The parallels between ancient Rome and modern ones and how they too are vulnerable. You are being a handful. Lessons from the fall of the Roman Republic that we can apply to today's fraught political climates in republics like the United States, Venezuela, and France. And Brazil, as of this week. Okay, well, all right. So I haven't actually read the advanced copy of this. I was waiting for the finished copy because I know that I'm going to want to pore over the notes and bibliography. So I will do that. Now that I have a finished copy, I will dig into this, and I will tussle with this author. And we'll see. Maybe this could easily be the case where he makes a more nuanced case than the pub sheet. It's just, that's always a bone of contention of mine in ancient Roman histories. This saying that, that the Roman Republic was debauched and tottering, that it was overextended, all that sort of stuff that you read just routinely tossed off, totally unexamined and totally untrue. Same thing, a variation on that you always hear in American histories, in histories of the American Revolution and the early American Republic, where writers just routinely toss off the fact that the original Constitution of the United States of America. Oh. You don't want me to rant? You don't like it when I rant? It's been a little over a year. As I was saying, histories of the United States will often say that the Articles of Confederation, the original Constitution for the United States of America, was impractical, was so severely flawed, couldn't possibly work, needed to be overhauled, in favor of a Constitution in which Alexander Hamilton got to exercise to the full extent of his imagination all of his dreams of a centralized republic, of a centralized government. And that isn't true. If you see that in a standard survey history of the United States of America, that the Articles of Confederation was badly flawed and needed to be overhauled, that might technically be true, but you could have overhauled the Articles of Confederation without scrapping them in favor of rampant federalism. That didn't need to happen. And a perfect example of how the people don't choose that is that the people had to be hoodwinked. In the case of America, they had to be hoodwinked. They had to be lied to. They had to be told that the Constitutional Convention was, in fact, going to revamp the Articles of Confederation. When the power brokers who wanted centralized power for themselves, because it's an incredible way to aggregate money, knew perfectly well that's not what they were going to do. I will read between the lines here. I will see what this author has to say. So let's move on. If I rant at this rate, we'll never get through all these books. Let's do the next one really fast. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, this one will be nice and fast. This comes out in November. It's a paperback. It's part of the Critical Lives series from the University of Chicago Press. And this one is someone I know nothing about. Pierre Loti. Few authors have led a life as interesting as French novelist and travel writer Pierre Loti, who lived from 1850 to 1923. Nor have they worked harder to make it appear even more romantic than it already was. He was a career officer in the French Navy, participated in expeditions that took him to places that even today, seem exotic to Westerners. And he published a series of novels, travelogues, autobiographical narratives, several of which went through several hundred editions in France. Wow. Okay, well, I don't have any windifying or pompous speech-making to make on this author, but he certainly sounds interesting. Someone I don't know very well. All right, so let's move on here. And although that's a paperback original, that is still a November book. What have we here? Oh, also University of Chicago Press. Maybe these are all from them. This also comes out in November. This is, oh wow. This is Octopus, Squid, and Cuttlefish. A visual scientific guide to the ocean's most advanced invertebrates. I am a big fan of the ocean's most advanced invertebrates, particularly octopuses. So this it's just another nature book. You get a lot of these big, oversized nature books when you get closer to the holidays, because they do well there as just impulse buys for. I've got a kid who's fascinated by octopuses. This is the perfect thing for them. And that's what this is. This is just guides to species. Their distribution, their lifestyle habits, everything like that. Fantastic. Okay, great. All right, so let's move on here. Imagine a mail haul this big first thing in the morning. All because the surly houseboy got clever. Oh, are you getting tired, Dean? Are you getting tired? So what have we got here? Wow. Okay. Yeah, this could all be from the. I haven't checked, but this could all be from the University of Chicago. They might just have. I might just have got a lump shipment from them, and this is great. This comes out in November. This is on my mind, as you will know from an earlier video of mine. This is William Sheehan's book on Mercury. It's just a planetary guide to Mercury, innermost planet. The sun may be a mass of incandescent gas, but in the plasmatic reaches of the solar wind spins another seemingly glowing but relatively minute orb. The last of the 5 naked-eye planets discovered in ancient times, Mercury has long been an elusive, enigmatic world. As seen from the Earth, it never emerges far from the Sun, and astronomers in the telescopic era found it challenging to work out basic data, such as rotation period, inclination on axis, and whether or not it possessed an atmosphere. And that changed. The Mariner flybys, the Messenger flybys, we've sent probes to Mercury, and we just launched another one. So we will learn more about this innermost planet, this rock that is hurtling around the sun, just incredibly fast. And this is a kind of book you'll be familiar with. This is just a sort of a state-of-the-art on our latest information on Mercury. So this will have canned histories of those earlier NASA probes, and then descriptions of everything that they taught us. Fantastic. Fantastic. This will be, I have an astronomy shelf, or rather, when I'm done with my grand realignment of my books, I will have an astronomy shelf, and it has books on every planet. And this will be a great addition. Probably the only one solely on Mercury. All right, we're getting towards the end here, believe it or not. So we'll just blast on here. Now, Bean, if you don't jump for your supper, your fans will desert you. There you go. Oh, what have we got here? Okay, these are not... Oh, man, oh, man. All right, these are not from the University of Chicago Press. More than the pity. All right, so let's see here. I think these are not November books either. I think these are both... these are both very end of October, yesterday. But it doesn't matter. They're romance novels. Fantastic. So the first one is by Donna Grant, and it is Dragonfire, a Dark King's novel. I do not think I have ever read a Dark King's novel. I wonder how many there are. Am I coming in very late to the party? Oh my god, yes, there are about 20 of them. All right, well, let's see here. As a Dragon King, both in capital letters, Roman is sworn to protect all mortals, even though they no longer believe in dragons. But deep in the Carpathian Mountains, he discovers a beautiful and mysterious gypsy who possesses the power to see into his very soul. To reignite the fire in his heart, I believe in dragons. And to help him find the long-lost sword that can save dragons forever. Sabina remembers the story of her grandmother, that her grandmother told her, legends of dragons and kings, fire and ice, and she's never forgotten the dark prophecy that filled her ancestors with fear, the fate they tried to prevent by stealing a dragon king's sword. And they are going to fall in love in the course of... it's the standard story of dragon meets girl. And then this next one is... it looks like a Regency romance. It's by Valerie Bowman, and it's Kiss Me at Christmas. A playful bride's novel. And you can barely make out a Christmas tree in the background there. They have other things on their mind. So let's see here. Bow Street runner Daphne Oakleaf. Daphne Oakleaf. Okay. He, she, it, whoever this person is, Daphne Oakleaf. Okay. All right. Abhors Christmas. Carol singing and holiday cheer only remind him, okay, it's a hymn, of a dark time. When a close friend calls on him for help, Daphne is happy to capitalize on the distraction. But when he learns the lovely Lady Regina is the one in danger, he's to become bodyguard to a captivating woman. Regina has one mission, to find a knight of passion in the arms of a gentleman. Considered firmly on the shelf, was Regency. Yeah, this is a Regency romance of a kind anyway, probably very loosely. But that was Regency slang for 25, too old to marry. Regina has given up on marriage, but that doesn't mean she wants to be... Frida, you're making excessive noise even for you, but that doesn't mean she wants to be denied the pleasure of that married ladies experience. Daphne has long captured her attention, and when a threat calls him to her side, the sparks between them ignite. But how can a hired bodyguard find his way into Regina's noble heart? It doesn't sound on the description of the plot like she's caring much about it making it difficult to find the way. We'll see. That one half of that is very odd. A brooding hero who has dark thoughts and needs to be drawn out of himself is a staple of the Regency romance. But what was the other half? I mean, you can dress it up in all sorts of nice euphemisms, but the second half of that story, Regina's half of the story, makes it sound like she has a goal. A very specific goal that does not involve finding the man of her dreams or marrying for love or anything like that. It sounds like she has a very specific goal. And I don't think I've read many Regency romances that were like that, so maybe this will blaze new ground. All right, so these are both out already. One probably contemporary, supernatural, and one Regency romance. So we will look at those again once we're done. But now we come all the way to the box. We are now finally at the box. It's a little box, which is bad, but it's heavy, so it's probably a finished copy, and it's from W.W. Norton. It's my favorite publisher. So let's see what we have here. Ah, oh my, oh, very nice. Okay, this is a November finished copy. This is by Chris Naunton, and it's Searching for the Lost Tombs of Egypt. And the paperback advance copy, the ARC that you might remember if you watch my 3,000 videos, went for a different color pattern. Emphasis on dark. Whereas here we have burnt umbers and oranges, the bright heat of Egypt in midday. The advance didn't have that. The advance went a little darker. I actually like this better. So let's see here. Egypt boasts some of the most spectacular ancient ruins in the world, scattered across the entire country, and yours truly has seen them all. In depth, in detail, many, many times. They are amazing. Tombs remain a central part of the continuing allure of ancient Egypt. Over the past 2 centuries, archaeologists have unearthed the burial sites of some of Egypt's celebrated pharaohs, from the chambers deep within the famed pyramids of Giza to the tombs hidden away in the rocky hills of the Valley of Kings. And yet there is still so much to find. Absolutely true. Major discoveries are made every year. Antechambers, false tombs, all kinds of stuff. And our technology improves all the time to find them. Despite the efforts of generations of Egyptologists who have scoured the royal cemeteries of the pharaonic era, the locations of the tombs of many of the most intriguing and notorious figures in ancient times remain unaccounted for. Where, for example, are the last resting places of Alexander the Great and Cleopatra? Those are, of course, the 2 big ones, the 2 holy grails. And this is, so this is going to be a lot like the Octopus book and the Mercury book. This is going to be a sort of a summary of where we are now, what we know now about the tombs of Egypt, which is fantastic. I don't have a book like that currently. And once again, as my grand reorganization of the books outside this room commences, as it progresses, there will be a whole shelf or 2 shelves or 3 shelves on ancient Egypt. They will no longer be scattered all over the place. They will be in one place. I will know what I have and don't have. I will know what I need. And this is great because that shelf is not built yet. And every new arrival on any subject is just a further impetus to get that grand reorganization fully underway. So that is it. That is our first very big mail haul today. There will be more mail today. But in the meantime, we'll do a little Steve pyramid here. We've got things that are going from the very big to the very small. So we have octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish. Just an illustrated field guide. Then we have Mercury, also an illustrated field guide, Searching for the Lost Tombs of Egypt, Mortal Republic, about the end of the Roman Republic and the change over to autocracy, basically kingship, although the Romans didn't use that word. Digital Renaissance, which sounds sunnier than the pub sheet made it out to seem originally. Darkness, A Cultural History, about what darkness means to humans. Critical Lives, this one about Pierre Loti. And two romances. And two romances from the end of October, so I can still read them. Dragonfire by Donna Grant. And Kiss Me at Christmas, part of the Playful Brides series by Valerie Bowman, who I feel certain I have other books by her. I will check and see. So that is it. That is our very loud, very destructive mail haul for the morning. But there'll be more books, and we have also plenty of other things to talk about. This could be a multi-video day. That's just fair warning. Thank you, BookTube.